Hey, what's up? So, it's been a while since I've made a movie or TV show review. I've watched new things, I just haven't cared to make a review on them. The last one I made was Thunderbolts. Obviously, I love that movie, I wanted to talk about it. But with Superman coming out literally in 2 days, I will be there as soon as it opens to watch. And then Fantastic Four coming out in like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever. I wanted to start getting back into the movie review and TV show review side. So, we're going to start back into this grind or whatever you want to call it with Ironheart. So, Ironheart was a show that I really wasn't even going to watch at the beginning because the last few MCU shows like this that are newer characters that are like origin story type deals weren't really that great. Daredevil Born Again was amazing, but that was really the last show, and I knew it was going to be good because it's Daredevil. Like, how can they screw up Daredevil? Anyways, Ironheart, I don't know much about this character, like comic book wise, or Hood, which, spoiler alert, this is all probably going to be spoilers. I can't really talk about it without, but Hood was a main character in this. It was in the promo for everything. But anyways, I didn't know much about either of them. I knew Ironheart was a 15-year-old who basically went to MIT, he was like the top student at MIT, and Tony Stark gave her a suit. That's kind of like the rundown, or she built a suit with Tony Stark's helper. Somehow Tony Stark connected to her. Now, that being said, I don't know much about Ironheart, so I don't know if they completely butchered her character in this. So I'm just going to talk about this show in general, nothing like comic book wise or anything else, because like there are shows that and movies that come out that completely butcher the idea of that character just to make it different. Anyways, so beginning to talk about the show, I came in thinking the show was not going to be that great, so I almost didn't watch it. But I was seeing some positive reviews, so I kind of wanted to give it a try. So I was expecting this show to be a 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10. And honestly, I would probably rate this show an easy 7 out of 10. I think 7 out of 10 was the highest I'll go with this show. There was just nothing that like blew me away. Like, there was no in-game portal scenes, or there was no like the one shot in the first Avengers where all six are in a circle or whatever. There's nothing like that. There was nothing like insane that blew me away. But it was pretty consistent on how the show was kind of like, the plot and stuff was pretty consistent. There wasn't any points where like we were jumping from this to this to this to this to this. It kind of just like went on through. And honestly, I really wanted this show to be more than 6 episodes. I feel like they could have made like a 10 episode series, kind of like Daredevil, with this show, because there was a lot of stuff they like brought up and a lot of ideas they had in this. And with 6 episodes, you couldn't really get all of it. But yeah, so I'll kind of break it down episode by episode, but like I said, it's so like it just kind of goes along with like the same pace. The pacing's not bad, that all the episodes kind of just mix together, and they're really short episodes too. So, episode 1, I will not lie, at the beginning of this episode, there is a line, you hear it, it's been talked about a lot, where she literally, like, I thought this line was like a few episodes in. I got this spoiled for me on TikTok, but she literally starts slandering Tony Stark. And at that point, I almost just shut off the show and just watch something else, because I don't understand why we can't have new characters without hating on the old versions of them characters. Like, I just, that's like if Captain America, like the new Captain America, if he would have jumped in and kicked the guy or something, been like, well, Steve Rogers couldn't have done that. Like, that's the level of, she said, would Tony Stark be able to do this if he wasn't a billionaire? Which, yes, I have seen the arguments that Tony Stark was born into his billions and billions and billions of dollars, but he wasn't born, or he was born into the billions of dollars and gifted all that money. He wasn't just gave a brain that works like his. He is one of the smartest people in the MCU, probably the smartest, like, normal human being in the MCU. And you can't, like, give that to somebody. They just have that. They work towards that. So yes, he was given all the money, but literally the famous line, he built us in a cave with a box of scraps, completely summarizes why that was a false thing to say. There's literally the cave scene in Black Ops, man. Iron Man 1 that I just watched last night, actually. Pretty great movie. There's a cave scene in Iron Man 1 where he builds a suit in a cave with OK tools or whatever, and he escapes. And then Iron Man 3 where he builds a bunch of makeshift stuff from Home Depot to what did he do? I forgot. He like infiltrated some mansion or something. I don't know. I haven't watched Iron Man 3 in so long. But that literally goes to show that Iron Man is him and we shouldn't be hating on him. So that literally the first line of the show is that line, and I almost turned it off, but I gave it a chance. And I will say I'm not a big fan of the suit's design. I think the shoulder thing right here is kind of weird looking. This right here and then this, it's kind of weird looking, but the CGI on the suit is some of the best CGI we've had in MCU in a long time. That looked great. Like, there was hardly any times where I was looking at the suit and it did not look good. So that is one thing to say. So, that's the takeaway from the first episode. She, like, flunks out of MIT because she hasn't been going to her classes or whatever. And I really thought they were going to try to pull the race card a lot. I really just want to watch shows where it's not about the race or anything. I just want to watch shows where it's just the character doing what they, like, want to do. Which she didn't really, and I was actually kind of glad. Like, it really, the first episode is the only controversial episode. The rest of them aren't that bad. So, hold on a second. Sorry about that. The dog wanted to go outside. But anyways, the rest of the show is pretty great. We'll get back into that topic. We meet this character. His name is Joe at the beginning. We learn that he is actually Obadiah Stane, son. That is Iron Man 1's villain. That's the guy that's like Tony Stark's right-hand man in the company that tries to take over the company. He becomes Ironmonger at the end. Anyways, Joe is actually a great character, and I really liked what they did with Joe. Joe, he's like kind of this weird guy, and he has a weird obsession with buying bionic parts off the black market. Well, Riri needs some of them parts for her suit, so they kind of team up or whatever. And he's just a really great character. But the one downside is Joe needed Riri to promise that Riri, like, so the whole concept of the show is Riri helps this team of bad guys or this team of criminals just steal stuff from rich people. Because this part is like one of the parts that I really don't like about the show. The Hood, the main villain, his main goal of being a villain or whatever is just to be rich. Like, there is no, like, other reason. It's kind of poorly talked about, too. Like, the line delivery is kind of bad in the 5th, or I think it's the beginning of the 6th episode. The Hood talks about, I just want to be rich. I just want to have so much money that I have too much money. I'm pretty sure that's how that line goes. And it was so poorly, like, I don't know. I did not like that. I did not like that the villain just wanted money. Nothing else. Like, they didn't want to rule the world. He just wanted to feel like a king. Which was so weird that the Hood, this, like, mystical guy that, like, has these invisibility powers and these magic powers, he just wants money. It was so weird to me. Maybe that's how Hood is in the comics. I don't know anything about Hood. But anyways, so Riri helps like steal from these big corporations or whatever so she can get money of her own because she's just a teenager that's in college, and of course you need money. Any teenager does. But anyways, so she uses some of Joe's bionics, and Joe has Riri promise her that none of those bionics will be tracked back to him, so he won't get arrested or anything. Well, spoiler alert, episode 4 or 5, they have a heist. It goes wrong. Riri kind of so the whole buildup is Riri, every episode she realizes that the Hood, his name's Parker, is not really a good guy, which obviously we knew that at the beginning. He was kind of sketchy. So she goes out of her way to try to sabotage Hood, and she gets caught doing it by one of the heist people on the team. So Riri ends up actually killing them. Not like a direct, like, blaster to the face, but she locks him in a room that's filled with CO2 and he chokes to death. Anyways, she loses one of her bionic parts in there, And when the cops show up, they find out that it's Joe's, which his name is actually Ezekiel, but I'm just going to call him Joe. So he gets sent to prison. Anyways, that whole trope's, it's gone, it's over with. He's in prison. Riri and Hood are now like enemy and enemy. They're like enemies. They're not working together anymore. So Hood goes to the prison and he recruits Ezekiel, because of course he has invisibility, so he can just walk in there. He recruits Ezekiel to join his team to defeat Riri. So at the end, or at the beginning or end of episode 5, all the team basically clashes on Riri, and she somehow makes it out. She beats up 2 people who literally their whole thing is they can fight, and Riri somehow beats them up and like outsmarts them combat wise. That made no sense to me. I didn't really like that either. But anyways, yeah, so Joe ends up showing up at the end, and her and Joe fight, and Hood wants Joe to kill Riri, but Joe ends up sparing Riri because he still has that good in him, and he lets Riri go, and that's in the 6th episode where we see that Hood gets what he wants. He gets the mansion, he gets all the money or whatever, and he has Joe basically work with him because the Bionics, a little plot twist, the Bionics that he put in Joe to enforce Joe to be this like guy that's like his bodyguard, he can't hurt Hood. So when Joe tries to backstab Hood because Joe started disliking what Hood's ideas was, Hood basically told him, hey, you can't hurt me, you literally work for me, I control you. So that was pretty cool. And then another thing I want to touch on, it's kind of a wild thing. It's kind of wild to talk about with these shows because there's 6 episodes and there's so much, and I don't want to give everything away. But this is where Mephisto is introduced. Mephisto, the demon that everybody was theorizing was in WandaVision. Well, he is the reason that Hood has his powers. And at the end of the show, which I actually really liked the ending. I didn't like the decision, but I liked the ending that they went for. Riri and Hood, of course, or not Hood, Mephisto and Hood, sorry. Mephisto and Hood, you see at the beginning of episode 6, they make the deal, and that's how Parker got the Hood powers. They made the deal that Parker would work for Mephisto. Well, at the end of episode 6, Riri talks to Mephisto, and Mephisto promises, I will give you your best friend back, because her best friend died. And like the beginning episode, we see a flashback of her best friend dying in a drive-by shooting. So Mephisto said, I will give you your best friend back if you come work for me. And it basically just ends off with Mephisto and Riri shaking hands, so they lock the deal in. And at the end of the episode, you see Riri hug her friend, and her friend acts like nothing's wrong. And then, so you see this like vein right here? That's what pops up, like that's Mephisto's like mark on you or whatever. That pops up on her arms to show that Riri is now like a holder of Mephisto's magic. So, kind of weird, kind of crazy series, but I didn't mind it. It was like a 6.57 out of 10, in my opinion. I didn't think it was terrible. Honestly, looking back on it now and thinking about it, I think 6.5 out of 10 is probably the best spot I'll put it, just because it felt kind of rushed, but it really wasn't as terrible as some people may think. Riri isn't a terrible character. I still don't like that she was hating on Tony Stark, and that's like the whole goal with these shows. I don't like that. I wish, like, Yelena, even though Yelena is a sister to Black Widow and Riri has no connection to Tony Stark, she never once says, well, I'm a better Black Widow. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But, yeah, Ironheart, it's a pretty decent show. If you need something to watch, I would recommend watching Ironheart. It's not like a blockbuster show. You're not going to be blown away by anything. But it definitely does have a pretty decent plot, and it paces pretty well. But, yeah, I should have a Superman review out Thursday or Friday whenever I go watch it, and then Fantastic Four is coming up soon. I'm super hyped about Superman. I'll have a long review on that because I'm so hyped. But yeah, catch you in the next one. Peace.